Before talking about the design, we need to study the surface on which we'll be printing it. When we design a t-shirt, we need to consider the shape, the area we'll be printing on, the colour, and the material. There are many different shapes of t-shirts. You need to know exactly which is the shape of yours. Speak to your provider or the client so everything is clear. I like working with Stanley Stella t-shirts. They're soft, made from organic cotton, and they're also fair trade. They have women's t-shirts with a U-shaped neck, V-shaped neck, vests, oversized tees, long sleeves, and the most common of all, the classic unisex. You always need to consider the shape because it's the canvas on which our design is going to go. So we need to know the size of the area we'll be printing, how it will be framed. Typical t-shirt designs usually go on the chest, but this isn't the only place they can go. On these t-shirts from Yes Studio, you can see how they've used parts of the back and the pocket. You can also print on the sleeves. It's also common to print the labels on the neck area. The only limit is your imagination. But for example, if the t-shirt has stitching on the sleeves, this is an area we should avoid. It's always better to stay away from the seams. An exception would be if we wanted our t-shirt to have a pattern. We can only achieve this if we design or order the material before it's sewn. There are companies like Spoonflower that make fabric with the pattern that you send them. But this technique is a bit more complicated, and it's much harder to make in our studio, so we'll leave it aside for now. The colour of the t-shirt is important for various reasons. If we want our design to stand out, we can use the colour of the t-shirt to add contrast. Here we can see the different colour combinations that give the most contrast, usually yellow and black, white and black, or combinations of white and other colours. These combinations don't create a good contrast, so if you want your design to be visible, it's best to avoid them. Another thing to bear in mind is, if we like dark coloured t-shirts, but our design doesn't look good in negative when the design is lighter than the background, then we'd have to choose a lighter coloured t-shirt. So here you can see that this design looks much better in positive than negative. To avoid this problem, it's sometimes better to choose grey coloured t-shirts that contrast well with designs both in positive or negative. Of course, I recommend you to try out the design using mock-ups first so you can test out the colours. With a silkscreen printing technique, we can print on almost any kind of textile material or others. You can also print on glass, metal, wood, etc. But going back to our t-shirt, we also have a great variety of materials to choose from: cotton, silk, polyester, and other synthetic fibres. The only thing we need to bear in mind is that the mesh used for silkscreen depends on the paint, which in turn depends on the surface we're printing on. To play it safe, I recommend you start designing and printing on material that's 80% cotton or more, and also that's pre-shrunk, so that when it's washed, it doesn't change shape. There are thousands of t-shirts with this type of material, different shapes and colours, and they're usually not that expensive. It's important to look for a good quality cotton, find t-shirts with a good amount, and that are well sewn. This is important if we want something that's good quality and long-lasting.